And now, let's hear it for Norwegian climate activist and member of the Children's Climate Panel, Penelope Lea.
When the Paris Agreement was signed during COP21, I had just turned 11. At the time, I had already been working with environmental issues for 3 years, starting when I was 8. My best friend, who's a bit older than me, was there in Paris, and I listened to her tell me all she could about it. Since then, I've attended 2 COPs myself. My best friend brought something back to me from Paris. This silk band. She took it from a tree outside the conference hall where hundreds of people had written their hopes, commitments, and fears. It says, "Every day counts." I choose to tell you this because I want you to remember that the generation you now see striking and fighting, building lawsuits against their own governments right now, have been listening to your discussions, reading up on science, hoping to comprehend the gap between the science report and the decision that has now been made for quite a long time now. As you know, what you do affects us, our future, and even more futures to come. But my point today is, it also affects and has affected our present and our childhood. I do not say this to make you feel bad. I tell you this because I think it's crucial to collaborate, generation to generation, countries to countries. And collaboration will work best, I believe, if we acknowledge each other's positions, differences, abilities, and experience. I'm often asked, as I've been today, to say something about how it is to be young in the middle of the climate crisis. And as you know, speaking on behalf of millions of others is difficult, even impossible. But when it comes to being young in the middle of the climate crisis, I actually think I might be able to. To learn at the age of 8 that everything, or at any other young age, that everything you love so hard that it hurts inside, life itself, is in danger, is an experience hard to put into words. And when you add the fact that you suddenly understand how the generation in charge, the one you have always trusted, and who will not be affected from the crisis themselves, have known this for a while, and have now the knowledge we need to solve the climate crisis, but despite this, do not act fast enough, is a feeling even harder to explain. You've heard it before, I know it, but please try to stay not only with the knowledge, but with the actually feeling, actually experience for a while. Being young today has to do about this feeling. And what we as young people can contribute with also has to do about this. System changes need huge changes of the way we think, the way we see ourselves, and the way we experience the world. There are many concepts that needs to get a new or wider meaning. One of them, I believe, is economic growth, even green growth. But another concept that already has and is changing its meaning is its truth. It's how the climate crisis are global, needing global solutions. And this concept, as this concept has been used up to now, is still true, of course, so true actually, that it has been used as an excuse for countries like Norway not to act faster themselves by saying, we are too small, it doesn't matter what we do. Here, I have to add the fact that tiny, wealthy Norway is the 7th largest distributor of greenhouse gases. We still search for more oil, and even receiving the new IPCC Natural Panel report, we still search further north, risking coral reefs and some of the northernmost spawning grounds for cod. The climate crisis has created a new and global affiliation and commitment between youth all over the world. A deep and disturbing but shared experience that has in some cases made us feel closer to us than we do to our own governments. So when we say in Norway that we will not be hit as hard as others from the climate change, this, of course, is also true. But I do not really believe it. I do not feel it. It is not my truth. Here in Norway, and I know we are not the only country where this happens, the political parties most resistant to immigration are also the parties with the worst climate politics. This is hard for me to understand. Harder than a lot of the science I read. I believe the climate crisis has weakened our borders, our identity as countries, maybe not physical, but for many young people, emotional. And I believe this exact feeling, the widening of the concept global, is crucial to find and agree on the system changes we need. Maybe it sounds too simple. I've had meetings with politicians since I was 8. And I've heard the phrase, "You have to remember, it is complicated," so many times. It is often used to stop action, to stop a conversation, and it smells a bit like giving up. But my generation will not be able to give up. We will not have that option. We are in this together. The fact that many young people give voices also to the simplicity of the facts in the climate crisis is not because we are naive or have too little knowledge. Keeping it simple is complicated. Keeping it simple is scary. Keeping it simple gives less room for excuses. Keeping it simple may help you find new solutions. And I believe keeping it simple is as necessary as seeing the complexity, not only to create new solutions, but also to put them in action. Because what am I to do when people I've organized with, made friends with, fight to death, felt the same fight and pain as, fight together with for climate action and justice, lose their drinking water, are caught in the middle of armed conflicts where resources or lack of resources are used as weapons? What am I to do when my friends lose their homes? Thank you.